So salutations, people of the YouTube nation, who are now listening to the premier voice for entertainment and information. Until a lion learns how to write, the story is always going to glorify the hunter. Lucky for you, I was born on July 27th and not a month longer. See, I often like to sit near a body of water and ponder about the things that happened in the past. How I like to try to learn about a history in class, but they said that's something we ain't have. Although I find it ironic that my culture you try to bash, saying is demonic and trash, only for you to then turn around and try to cash in by selling a sanitized and whitewashed version. Now, for my people out there, let me tell y'all the real story. Where the Garifuna people come from. We are originally from what is now St. Vincent. We call that Yudomen though. St. Vincent is an island north of Venezuela, a little bit farther up from Trinidad and Tobago. Funny story. Maybe not haha funny, hee hee funny, right? So there were a couple of ethnic groups. One was the Lokono, and the other one was the Kalinago. The Kalinago was then christened as Carib, and the Lokono was christened as, wow, what did they call it? Hold on, y'all. Let me look it up. Oh, Arawak, right. So, you will seldom hear me refer to my ancestors, my people, as Arawak or Carib, because for one thing, that's not the name that we gave ourselves, right? That's the name that the colonizers gave us. So it would be disrespectful of me to call them that. So I will call them by the actual names that we gave ourselves, like Lokono, which is the original name for Arawak, and Kalinago, which is the original name for Carib, right? But I have to explain it, otherwise you will be lost. Like, what's blood talking about? No, but yes, that's that. The Lokono lived in what is now St. Vincent, a tiny island off the coast of South America, north of Venezuela, right? Around the 1200s. Another group, the Kalinago, which is often referred to as Carib. That's where Caribbean actually got the name from. Carib, Caribbean. But again, it's not a name that we gave ourselves, right? It's a name that was, I think, come to think about it, it's probably a mispronunciation of the actual name, which is Kalinago, right? But I guess the British couldn't pronounce it or something, or maybe they just didn't really care. So they just said, oh, you're Caribs now. Okay. But the actual name is Kalinago, right? So, right. You have the Lokono, who lived in what is now St. Vincent, and then you have the Kalinago, who lived in, Venezuela, those regions. But some of them, they decided to, oh man, they were like, oh man, hey, Garina, you see that, bro? Yo, they got some fly honeys over there, bro. Let's get them. All right, so they said, bet, homie, we out. All right, so long story short, the Lokono men were murdered by the Kalinago men, and the Kalinago men took the Lokono women. Ain't that romantic? Oh man. But what ended up happening is that, yes, the Kalinago men would often speak one way, and the Lokono women would often speak a different way. Don't ask me how they made it work, but I guess that love finds a way, am I right? But and then there's black people that come into the picture, but there's a couple of theories being bandied about. One, as many of you already know, they would say that we came through the transatlantic slave ships, around the 1500s or around that time, and we crash landed off the coast of St. Vincent and swam to St. Vincent, right? Well, there's a couple of things that are questionable about that. First, I don't think I was speaking to a scholar and a historian the other day. Well, speaking, I said that like I had a conversation with him. He was actually just talking about this, and he said that they have not actually found any shipwreck of the coast of St. Vincent, like in 500 years or however long it was. And two, if you actually go to St. Vincent, you would know that it has a very strong current. I don't care if you're Michael Phelps, you're not swimming through that, right? So it would have been difficult for people to actually swim through that current. But the second theory that's bandied about by this anthropologist and historian by the name of, I think, Andoni, although I forgot his full name, I'll have to research it some other time, but he actually researched some history, and then it was said that black people were already in what is now St. Vincent since before Christopher Columbus arrived, right? So Christopher Columbus arrived in 14 something, right? However it was, I don't remember. That's when he discovered America, right? So black people were there before. But, be that as it may, be it that we either got there through slave ships that shipwrecked near the coast, or, we were there before. We ended up in what is now St. Vincent. Well, but I do have to say that, yes, there were other slave ships that I say we like I was there, but the ancestors raided some slave ships, and then they brought people back to the island. So that was true to some extent, but it wasn't like people were shipwrecked necessarily. That's my knowledge, right? So that's what happened. So from then on, a lot of people, as they do, a lot of Europeans, they try to colonize the islands because, I don't know, I guess it was valuable at the time for whatever reason. First, I think it was the French that tried to colonize the island, but the Garifuna are masters of guerrilla warfare, right? So, and we knew the terrain a lot better than the French, so we were able to fight them off. And we even had a peace treaty, right? I remember going to St. Vincent, I don't know, 8-9 years ago almost, and saw a letter that was actually signed by him. I wish I still had a picture, man. Maybe I'll go back one of these days so I can show you. But yes, he wrote a peace treaty with the French, and he signed it, right? So it was in the museum in Thank Greeks. Yeah, one of the villages, I forgot which one. But yes. So Chief Joseph Chatoyer signed that treaty. But then the British, they also wanted a piece of the pie, right? Because why not? Oh, man. So the British, they also wanted to take over the island. By the way, this was around 1600s, I believe. Yeah, 1600s. That sounds about right. Right? So they actually, I think we beat them initially. Then they retreated, but then they came back, in the 1700s. And that's actually when we had the treaty with France, right? So what ended up happening is that France didn't really care, right? They just let the British do whatever, right? So we did fight the British. Eventually, though, they were able to overwhelm us, and they killed Chief Joseph Chatoyer on March 14th, 1795, which is actually the day that is commemorated, which is actually the day that is commemorated as Heroes Day in St. Vincent. So yes, Chief Joseph was assassinated on March 14th, 1795, and then, we kept trying to fight, but, eventually they rounded up a bunch of us, usually the darker skinned ones, because segregation, of course. Then we were exiled out of our homeland. Firstly, they put us in an island known as Beliso, which is an uninhabited island off the coast of St. Vincent. There's nothing there, that they were hoping we would die. And many of us did, unfortunately. And from what I understand, there's still a lot of the remains that are there. I like to go there one time and pay my respects. After that, they sent us to Jamaica, right? After that, they sent us to Jamaica. And after Jamaica, we ended up in what is now Roatan, or Roatan, present day Honduras. This was back in 1797, so it was not Honduras at the time, and Roatan was under British rule. So that's where they sent us there. Again, probably hoping we would die, but we're still here. So the thing is, though, from St. Vincent, where they gathered 5,000 of us, only 2,026 actually got to what is now Honduras, right? And from then, our folks spread out throughout Central America in various villages, usually around the Caribbean coast of Central America, Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, and Belize, right? So that's where many of us are now. And from then on, of course, many of us migrated to different places. So that is the ethnogenesis, or the origin of the Garifuna people. There was a general by the name of Walumugu. So he was a general actually who fought alongside Morazan, I believe, in order to gain independence for Honduras. Garifuna people fought for independence of Honduras. Don't let anybody tell you that we are not, Honduran. I mean, we do have citizenship that is from Honduras. However, we are not originally from Honduras because we were from St. Vincent, but we're still indigenous though, either way. And also citizens of Honduras, so that's what happened, right? And now you know. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but you're right here with me. I appreciate that. I go by the name of Omar Arpaner, aka Arpanada, aka your poor leftist teacher. And once again, thank you for flying Arpaner tonight. Peace.